Hey guys, this is the last installment of information on chapter 23, lesson 2, part C. This is going to be about propaganda. Chances are you've heard of propaganda and what the word means. Hopefully this is something you went over a little bit when you did the Holocaust with Mr. Main. Today we're going to learn about what propaganda is, but also we're going to look at ways that you can identify things as propaganda versus not propaganda. All right, so first we're going to start like what is propaganda? Let's back it up and remember, specifically in the context of elections, candidates, interest groups, campaigns, they all have one goal. They want to influence the way you think. Propaganda is a message that's meant to influence people's ideas, opinions, or actions in a certain way. Propaganda can include lies, but it can also contain truthful or mostly truthful information. A message is considered propaganda when it tells only one side of the story. It distorts truth or it appeals mostly to people's feelings. I've put in an image right here of a famous piece of propaganda from World War I. It says, "Destroy this mad brute," right? We have a beautiful, conventionally beautiful white American woman, clearly in harm's way, in danger, right? The brute, the German brute, is breaking into the American shores, right? It's playing on your emotions. Oh my gosh, if I don't fight in this war, what's going to happen to my wife and my family? Propaganda can be found in all kinds of media, campaign materials, posters, advertisements, social, etc. And as a well-informed citizen, you need to be able to recognize and be critical of this type of messaging because it comes from all sides. And something that I want to point out that's like so important to recognize is that like even if something is propaganda, you might still agree with it. You just need to like, especially like when sharing it or talking about like an actual material that is propaganda, you need to be ready to accept like, okay, this does only tell this one side, but like this one side I agree with. Or yeah, this is mostly playing to my emotions, so I'm not taking it as full-throated truth. So propaganda in itself is not always necessarily evil, right? If propaganda is being produced for a good cause, right? Fight in World War I, help America fight the war. It's a little more complicated than just like propaganda bad, okay? But we need to be able to understand what propaganda is, and I'm about to go through some tried and true propaganda strategies that when you start paying attention and thinking about these, you're going to see it a lot more in your world than you might think that you were exposed to. So the first, and I love these, thanks to Mr. Cloutier for the two of us work together putting together all these examples for you guys. Glittering generalities. So one of the number one like red flags of propaganda is when the person or the ad or the video uses words or phrases that sound appealing and that everyone agrees with. Something that was really cool that I did my first year teaching during the 2016 election was I actually took quotes from candidate Trump and candidate Clinton, and I actually mixed who had said what, and I asked students to try to guess who said each thing. Sometimes like candidates will say things that like everyone agrees with, right? You're trying to get people on the bandwagon. It's a glittering generality. So for example, I stand for freedom in the American way, right? Who doesn't love freedom? Okay, I love freedom. Trump, right? Make America great again, right there. Glittering generalities. We're gonna make America great. We have Bernie Sanders, right? Not me, us. That's glittering. That's a beautiful vision, right? We can even see in the image, we have all these multicolored people standing up in Bernie's outline. Going a little bit more silly, right? We have our food examples. Creamy, dreamy, icy, chocolatey, yum. That sounds great. What they don't tell you is that frozen machine is almost always broken when you go to McDonald's, right? Subway, eat fresh. How fresh are we talking? So glittering generalities. You're going to need to identify glittering generalities. That's when somebody, again, uses the words or phrases that sound appealing and like everyone would agree with, right? The next technique is called card stacking. This one's a little bit harder to identify because it's more about what you're not hearing than what you are hearing. So in card stacking, this is a propaganda technique where you use facts that only support your argument. So, for example, my opponent voted against Social Security. Social Security is an extremely popular program for when people who get old enough where they can't work, they're supported financially by the government, or people pay into the system, etc. People overwhelmingly support social. So if you're saying, oh, my candidate voted against it, some people are going to get PO'd. Like, they're going to be like, what do you mean she voted against it? Right? You're card stacking, though, because you're mentioning that she voted against it, but you're not explaining that the reason why she voted against it was because the increase in funding was too small, right? I'm not going to vote for this because you're not giving us enough, right? Clearly, those two things don't work. We put the Satis fries here, which I don't know if you ever tried them. They're pretty good, right? 40% less fat, 30% less calories, big taste, right? We don't know, less fat than what? Like, where are these statistics coming from? I put a tweet here from the president. This is while he was president, June 18. My supporters are the smartest, strongest, most hardworking, and most loyal that we have seen in our country's history. It is a beautiful thing to watch as we win elections and gather support from all over the country. As we get stronger, so does our country. Best numbers ever. Again, if he had especially been like putting on statistics, like the numbers, that's going to be a card stacking technique. You need to be able to identify that. Okay, this one is I love this one because it always makes politicians look so lame and funny. Plain folks, okay? So the strategy of plain folking is when you're like, come on, guys, I'm just like you. Like, look at me. I can play basketball. I eat McDonald's. I like ice cream. I'm wearing denim on a dirt road, right? So the plain folks technique is when you try to tell voters that you're just like them. You're an ordinary person with similar needs and ideas, right? I have lived in this city my whole life. My children go to the same school as you. You're trying to make the voter feel like, I know this person, if they are like me, they'll support me. Got another Trump here. Give ASAP Rocky his freedom. Some of you guys had actually reported on this current event at the beginning of our year. We do so much for Sweden, but it doesn't seem to work the other way around. Sweden should focus on its real crime problem. Hashtag free Rocky, right? Why on earth would the president of the United States be getting involved in the detainment of a rap musician, right? Maybe he wants to show he's just like us. He likes rap music. Does he though? I don't know. So again, this is not just a thing on the right. It's not a thing on the left, right? I'm trying to show you examples from all over the place. Propaganda perpetrates every aspect of our political society. Okay, the next one, name calling. There are almost too many examples for me to choose from, but I did find one that's non-political as well, just to give you another kind of sense. This is when you attach negative labels to your opponent, right? This person's soft on crime. We've got the Big Mac, seems more like a medium, right, in advertising. I put down this tweet here, so ridiculous. Greta must go work on her anger management problem and go to a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta, chill, right? Obviously, the president is suspicious at best of climate change. Greta Thunberg is a major climate change advocate. You want to attach negative labels to your opponent. Don't listen to Greta because she's angry, right? She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just a PMSing angry teenager, right? We have here, welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe. Right there, that's a right off the bat negative label. I only hope you have the intelligence long in doubt to wage a successful primary campaign. It will be nasty. You will be dealing with people who truly have some very sick and demented ideas. But if you make it, I'll see you at the starting gate, right? So attaching these negative labels to your opponent, name calling, that's another red flag for propaganda. I think this might be our last one, or we have one left. The bandwagon approach. You guys have probably actually already heard the phrase, get on the bandwagon. It's when you appeal to the desire that most human beings have to follow the crowd. In a very basic psychological sense, if we look at psychology, humans have this underlying desire to group together. And humans like the sense of order that comes with identifying with a group. So you can use the tactic of the bandwagon to get people to join you, right? You're basically showing, for this example, polls show that more than 80% of voters support me. You might be thinking, well, I don't want to be one of the 20%. I want to be like with the most people who are making the right decision. So we've got some examples here, right? Pete, Amy, hop on Biden bandwagon as moderate seat to thwart Bernie. Let's all fight, buy the war bonds, And then would you vote for Clinton as president? 57% say yes, right? Join the bandwagon. Be part of the majority. Make sure you're on the right side. All right, the last one we have for you. This is like the most complex, is transfer. Transfer is when you connect yourself to a respected person, group, or symbol. Okay, so even the president's slogan of "Make America Great Again," that is not a unique thing that he came up with. That was originally quoted by Ronald Reagan. So Ronald Reagan is one of the most famous modern Republicans. If you're a conservative, you most likely love Ronald Reagan. So by crafting this whole campaign, around something that is like Reagan-esque, that's a form of transfer. I love this example. I think it's really clear. All the Coca-Cola ads, especially the early ones, that's Santa, right? Santa says it's Coke time. For the audience, it's meant to transfer positive feelings about Santa into positive feelings about consuming Coca-Cola, even though these two things are not even related. Sorry, I hope this doesn't ruin any of your lives, but one is real and one is not, right? So when you're transferring, you're trying to create a positive association between yourself and a well-respected or liked or popular symbol. Bernie is all about this. I've got two pictures here. Obviously, we got Cardi, doing talk shows with Cardi, Killer Mike from Run the Jewels, right? By surrounding himself with these people, Bernie Sanders, in a way, is also kind of like shedding his like old white, persona to embrace, Black, hip, young. So politicians do this all the time, whether it's their music, or things that they like tweet about that they like. Transfer is a little like, it was harder for me to find examples of, because it's not just about surrounding yourself with politicians, or surrounding yourself with celebrities. It's very complex, but transferring in is when you connect yourself to a respected person, group, or symbol. So those are our ways of identifying propaganda. Remember, propaganda is that message that's meant to influence. Propaganda in itself is not always bad, right? If it's a positive message, if it's a message that you support, you don't have to disavow that material. Even like this extremely famous poster of Barack Obama is propaganda, right? It's playing on your emotions. But what we do need to be able to do is we need to be able to recognize propaganda, especially as we go into this election. We're all, you, me, everyone, anyone who doesn't live under a rock is going to be bombarded with propaganda. And it gets dangerous when we just start accepting things as completely true. I think the most dangerous for us right now is this card stacking technique. When there's only one side of the argument, you're not listening to what's happening on the other side. That's why we all got to be informed. So, I hope now as you've learned this and you go about your life, you start trying to pick up more on these symbols, on these techniques of propaganda, and you become a more conscious consumer.